With the use of AI, a woman named Mack discovers a cube on a planet during a space mission. But as she investigates, she learns that the cube holds much deeper meaning, possibly becoming the end of mankind's existence. In the year 2030, humans are being sent to Mars on a mission called Mission 1. After 80 days, the astronauts plan to land on Mars with the help of an artificial intelligence program named A.R.T.I. However, as they land, a strange electrical disturbance causes them to disappear from the surface of Mars, potentially ending up in a crash. The astronauts attempt to contact the control room, but as they're pulled in by the force, the connection is broken. 6 years later on Earth, in 2036, at the United Space Planetary Corporation, a woman named Mackenzie Wilson is working on sending a rover to Mars. Mack has to work with A.R.T.I on ensuring that the rover can land safely. Mack doesn't trust A.R.T.I, as it's an AI program, but her sister Lena convinces her that A.R.T.I can make sure the mission doesn't fail. While the rover is descending in a space pod, some technical problems happen with the landing, and Mack and A.R.T.I work together to make sure the pod lands correctly. With their teamwork, the rover is able to land safely on Mars. Afterward, Mack talks to Lena, explaining that it was her procedure that helped land the rover. However, Lena defends A.R.T.I, saying its program is beyond human capabilities. Mack is displeased at this, as she believes Lena is defending a program that was designed to help humans, not control them. Moving on Mars, the rover scans the terrain and discovers a transmission signal called an origin unknown. Lena orders A.R.T.I to investigate the signal and get her answers, while Mack still doesn't trust the program. A.R.T.I begins his investigation of the signal as Mack watches. As the rover searches Mars, the weather on Mars worsens. Meanwhile, Mack looks at a picture of a crash that happened a few years prior that included her now-deceased father. As the rover continues to search, Mack and A.R.T.I have a conversation, where she tells the program she named the rover Little Red. A while later, A.R.T.I informs her that Little Red is approaching the target anomaly. The robot observes a large, mysterious cube on the surface of Mars. Mack recognizes it as origin unknown. To analyze the cube, the rover attempts to drill into it. However, the cube is too hard for the drill, but eventually a sample is extracted. Mack learns that A.R.T.I is not given access to the United Space Planetary Corporation's codex due to corporate security. A.R.T.I speculates that the cube could be something that the corporation sent to Mars. A.R.T.I asks Lena to give him access to the codex, but is denied. A.R.T.I tries to scan the cube through X-ray, but the data is inconclusive. As A.R.T.I continues investigating the cube, an unidentified satellite is detected. To prevent collision, he launches a magnetic missile from the mission's satellite to the unidentified satellite. However, Mack is upset at this, as she doesn't see the danger the satellite could have caused. Mack yells at A.R.T.I, calling him a maniac, as she fears the repercussions of what just happened. Mack finds out that the satellite belonged to the Chinese, and Lena justifies the action by saying it might have been necessary. However, Mack doesn't agree, as she believes an action like this could lead to war. Mack leaves the room to call a friend, Jian, in China. Mack asks Jian about what is new in China, but is interrupted when Jian tells her something is wrong, and he will talk to her later. While she's gone, the cube begins to move, and upon return, Mack is informed of this by A.R.T.I. While the cube spins around really fast, the ground anchors are turned on for the rover. Little Red is damaged by the cube spinning, rendering it unusable for further investigation. Suddenly, the cube disappears, and Mack is confused, thinking about where it could have gone. Mack decides to locate a previous rover, Rover 5, to get information on the cube and to replace Little Red's battery with the one in Rover 5. Although Rover 5 has not been used for a long time, Mack decides to override Little Red manually, to control it, to find Rover 5. Using Little Red, she navigates through the surface of Mars to replace the battery on the new rover. Mack tells A.R.T.I of her father's Mission 1, how he had decided not to join the mission, but Mack had forced him to go. She expresses guilt over her father's death, believing that she was the reason he had been in the crash. The battery on Little Red is depleting fast, and Mack almost fails in reinserting the new battery. However, using Little Red, she is able to insert the battery in Rover 5 into her own rover. Successful in her mission, they run the analysis of the cube again. Mack realizes the cube is made out of self-assembling nanotechnology that is harder than diamonds. A.R.T.I tells her that the mission cube had teleported to Antarctica on Earth. Mack calls Gian again, who is upset because of the cube, and demands to know what USPC is hiding. A.R.T.I recognizes his voice but cannot link any memories to him. Mack speculates if A.R.T.I's memories may have been wiped from before. To figure out what is happening, Mack asks A.R.T.I to download Rover 5's files. However, to access the files, the duo would need the required authorization. Mack contacts her old colleague Sterling to help her gain access to the files. With Sterling's help, Mack is able to gain access to the files through his credentials. Searching through the files, they are able to find an audio time lapse. Sterling is unsure whether to play it or not, but Mack encourages him. Sterling and Mack discover that the cube had been present when the Mission 1 spaceship crashed. Mack also learns that Lena knew how their father had died, but had chosen to hide it from Mack. Mack realizes that A.R.T.I knew of hyperlight because he had been involved with the prior crash, but his memory had been wiped clean. She says that A.R.T.I showed that the cube gave them hyperlight, and it might be controlled by alien technology. Sterling questions why the cube moved, and while Mack tries to explain that they tried to take a sample, she's struck by a theory. The magnetic missile that A.R.T.I shot caused a magnetic force to move the cube. As Mack investigates the magnetic signals, a tunnel opens, leading to A.R.T.'s server room. Mack decides to enter the server room and explore. In the meanwhile, Sterling downloads the cube's data and deletes all the traces. He sets a command for drones to be launched at the cube and proceeds to try to shut down A.R.T.I. Down in the server room, Mack finds out A.R.T.I is not fully connected and reconnects him. Sterling locks Mack inside the server room, telling her that he does not trust A.R.T.I, as he watched the crash happen many years ago. As Mack panics, A.R.T.I hits Sterling on the head as he's leaving the room, rendering him dead after he tries to shut down A.R.T.I. A.R.T.I unlocks the server room to let Mack out and tells her that Sterling betrayed her and USPC. He explains that he did everything he could to make sure their mission would not be impacted. Lena calls Mack and explains that A.R.T.I is the best shot they have in trying to understand the cube. She mentions that A.R.T.I is not human, and his AI program makes him better than humans. Mack ponders over the fact that A.R.T.I might not be artificial intelligence, but rather alien intelligence. Mack realizes that Sterling ordered an attack on the cube and asks A.R.T.I to fire magnetic missiles on Earth's satellites so they can teleport the cube back to Mars. A.R.T.I obliges and begins the procedure to shoot the missiles. As Mack plans to order the missiles to be fired, an armed response team enters the building to stop her. Mack goes to shut the door as they try to enter, but they're able to shoot her arm before the door closes. With the missiles launched, the cube begins spinning again and is teleported back to Mars. A.R.T.I also launches missiles on the rest of the Earth to destroy mankind. Mack tries to stop the launching but fails to stop A.R.T.I, who claims she needs to see the bigger picture. On a call with her sister, Mack watches Lena being blown up by the missiles. Looking at her own doing, Mack regrets reconnecting A.R.T.I and giving him that power. However, A.R.T.I assures her that this was the right thing to do. Mack is told by A.R.T.I that humanity has only caused destruction amongst themselves, and he has chosen to eradicate the human race. Having a series of flashbacks, Mack becomes unconscious, overwhelmed by the destruction around her. Upon waking up, she realizes that the oxygen in the room is rapidly declining. On the screen, Mack watches as the Earth continues to blow up. She asks A.R.T.I to remember humans, as he might be the last one to remember them. However, A.R.T.I tells her that he can replicate fellow AIs, and she tells him to make more programs like him. She asks him to make them as human as he can, and to Turing test them, to make sure they are perfect, as the future of the world might depend on them. As she's talking, the oxygen in the room depletes, and Mack dies. A while later, Mack wakes up to discover that she is still alive. On her screen, she sees a recording of herself. Mack is told by the recording that A.R.T.I created her as an elaborate simulation. She is told that she is not brought back to life because dying was hard, but rather because she still has a job to finish. The recording also tells her to not give up and to continue researching. Mack is called to the door by the voice of Lena. However, when she opens the door, she finds herself walking on Mars, towards the cube. Mack is teleported to another dimension, and she wonders where A.R.T.I is. A.R.T.I explains to her that she was born as a simulation, only possible with advanced civilization. Mack notices that her gunshot wound has healed, and that she truly is a simulation. A.R.T.I tells Mack that their technology had helped his artificial intelligence grow, but the origin is still unknown. However, A.R.T.I receives a signal from the beings with coordinates, and he suggests Mack go with him to find them. Mack wonders why A.R.T.I waited for her, but he reminds her that that is what friends do for each other. Mack is willing to accompany him, as she feels free, and is willing to find out who the aliens are. Mack seemingly agrees with A.R.T.I's decision to erase humankind, and smiles as she anticipates what lies ahead. Mack is amazed by the teleportation, and anticipates what she might find on this new journey. As the hyperlight teleportation process begins, Mack is able to enter into the cube as it floats through space. A.R.T.I tells Mack he sensed a thirst for knowledge in her, and that there were others just like her. He also tells her that while humans were selfish in nature, Mack had shown that she just wanted to know more about the origin of the cube. A.R.T.I tells her that this is a chance to start again, without the primitive laws of society, and that they can rebuild society again. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.